Oh, hello, world. What's up? Welcome to Build. I'm your host, Matt Forte. We are here live at the Build studio in New York City. It has been over a decade since Blue and Joe sang their final goodbye song. But now, after an exhaustive nationwide search with over 3,000 people auditioning and Steve himself at the helm, Blue and her new friend Josh are ready to solve a whole new batch of puzzles with a whole new generation of fans. One of the most popular preschool shows of all time is back with Blue's Clues and You. And joining me now, host and star, second only to Blue, of course, Josh Dela Cruz is here. How about that? Make some noise for Josh. I'm excited. Are you at home? We're going to bring out Josh in just a second. But first, I believe we have a peek from the premiere. So let's go ahead. Ladies and gentlemen, make some noise for Josh Dela Cruz right here. Man, that show, we were talking about it backstage. Like, I had a nephew, I have nieces and nephews, I had a cousin. I had so many people in my life, because I was an 85 kid, so I was a little old, but I had a bunch of kids in my life that we would be babysitting or hanging out. We watched it, and it takes me right back, man. What an amazing legacy to be a part of. Congratulations. How are you doing, dude?
Thank you so much. Thank you. No, I'm on cloud nine. I found that I'm singing to myself every day these days, just like under my breath. And I guess that's just a sign that I'm really happy,
Spontaneous song is usually a sign of joy.
Yeah, especially for somebody that comes from musical theater. It's really cliche. Nice, Josh.
We're pretty close to the premiere, man. Are you excited? It's already been all over internet and stuff, and there's a lot of preview videos out there. But the show, in earnest, it's going to air. Kids are going to be watching it. How do you feel? It's about to be a real thing, man. It's going to happen. We're so close.
I'm so excited because we've been working on the show for like a little bit over under a year now, and so finally people are going to be able to see this thing that's only kind of been hypothetical when I was talking about it. And as an actor, you're like, I hope it airs. So. I'm really excited. The show was, when it premiered in '96, was hugely transformational in the way that kids watch and experience television. Like Mr. Rogers, he talked directly into the camera, and like that got me. I'm an '89 kid, so like that's what I grew up with. And watching the show with my little sister, like Blue's Clues, just blew everyone away because they talked into the camera, and then they waited that extra step to wait for an answer. Yeah. And with that like 3-beat pause, and like there's something so powerful about an adult giving a kid the power and the opportunity to speak and to take what they say seriously. Because growing up, we were essentially told to be quiet until we were older. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, that was the most powerful part, is that now in a time where everything is immediately interactive and so forth, this was one of the first things where kids were given an opportunity to feel a part of the experience and brought into it and to drive in a way by giving that 3-beat pause and waiting for that response. Yeah. It's pretty amazing, man. Let's go back for a second. How did this all start? I said it in the top, 3,000 people auditioning, and here you are. You made the cut. You cut through the noise. You are the one. How did you even find out about the audition? How did it all start for you?
So at the time, I was in Aladdin on Broadway. I'd been with the show for about 5 years. I was an understudy for Aladdin. I was an understudy for Iago. I had taken over for Aladdin.
Yeah, you were Aladdin for a little bit.
Yeah, I was Aladdin for 3 months, and it was amazing. I loved my job. I loved the people that I was working with, but there was still something in there. There's still something in me where I felt like I wanted something more. I wanted to help people. I wanted to do something more than just entertain, and use my gifts and use the things that I'd learned along the way to do that. So then I get an email from my agents, and they're like, hey, there's an audition for Blue's Clues. And I'm like, oh, shoot, Blue's Clues. Like, I love that show. All these memories came back, going over to my aunt's house, watching cable over there, because we didn't have it. Watching with my little sister. And I was like, oh, I never really thought about, children's television, let alone Blue's Clues. And so I started getting ready for the part. I went over the sides with my cast because we're like a family. And soon we were all just reminiscing and being like, oh, shoot, remember the cup clue? It's like, yeah, of course I remember the cup clue. And then all of a sudden we were starting to sing the male song, and this is all during the show, like during Aladdin. And I thought to myself, wow, this was such a huge part of our lives. Just not just mine, but everyone's. And, it was just kind of like a thought, like And I went in for my audition.
What was that like? What did they ask you to do?
It was, I had 2 sides. One was look for a clue within straws. and the other one I think had something to do with having a shoe on my head. And you know,
I feel like improv exercises.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, absolutely.
Here's
Like
a box of items. One of them will eventually be a clue. Go nuts.
yes,
Figure it out. Yeah.
absolutely. And that's essentially what it is like on set, because I don't have the benefit. This is the most human interaction I've had on camera. Yeah. No, don't be sorry.
Prepared more.
No. This is
come over. I would have done.
this is perfect, because it's usually just a green screen and little green pieces of tape, and if I'm lucky, a green tennis ball.
I was gonna say, what is blue on set?
So depending on the shot, if I'm lucky, I'll be able to get a green cutout of her. But most times she's just a little piece of tape.
Is there anybody over there going? Burp, 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 burp?
Yes,
You get any of that?
yes,
They do that.
yes.
Okay, so you know where that is.
Yes. So my on-set assistant, Ashley, she is every single voice and character before any of the voice actors get into the booth. So all of my timing, all of my jokes land off of her, and we play off of each other. She's my scene partner. And so she is integral for the show. And speaking of Blue and voices, Tracy Page Johnson, who is one of the creators of the show, voiced Blue in the original series, and she's going to be Blue in this series.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I got you off on a tangent. I'm so sorry.
No.
But we were talking about the audition. So they hand you the straws.
Oh, so they hand me no straws. No straws. It was literally like an empty box. I think there were 2 apple boxes that were like there, and that was it. And I was like, okay, you know, just go. Yeah. I felt pretty good about it, and you know, tried not to put all my eggs in one basket and get too excited. And you know, lo and behold, nothing. As it goes, right? Yeah. And so I wait, and I'm like, oh, okay, you know, that would have been great, but I guess this wasn't the thing.
Yeah.
And then a month later, my agent sends me an email, says, I guess this is still happening. You have a callback. Great. All right. Awesome. So I prepare. I go in, and this time it's with the creators and the producers. They're all in a line, but nothing out of the ordinary. It's like it's a good, you know, a good callback. I leave. I get another email from my agent saying, you did great. They want to see you for an on-screen test. I'm like, amazing. You know, trying not to get excited. I'm like, maybe this is the thing. And I go in. I work with the director. Steve sneaks up on me.
Wait. Steve sneaks up on you. Where was he?
Steve sneaks up on me. So when I go in, there are like drapes and things hung around the room for lighting and for sound purposes. There's a green screen. The director comes out. He's like, okay, great. Here are these notes, yada, yada, yada. Oh, and Steve, do you have anything for Josh? And then I knew there were people back there. I just didn't know who it was. And then emerging from the curtains is this figure. And I'm like, oh, Steve. Hi, Steve. Steve. It's you're the Steve. The Steve. And the Steve. And I freak out. I hope I didn't look like I was freaking out in the audition. But then as soon as he opened his mouth, there's like depth in his voice. And all of a sudden I felt important. And I was like, oh, okay, yes. Well, he's exactly like he is on the show. And that, you know, he just hands over the power and your self-esteem rises. And I was immediately at ease and left the audition. And I was like, ooh, I think this is the thing. And then another month goes by. Yes. Yeah. And then I get another on-screen test, and that what goes even better. And then I leave, and I leave to go visit my wife. She's on a cruise ship contract in Alaska doing Jersey Boys. And so I finally get to see her, and, you know, she goes, how'd it go? It went really well, and, you know, I don't want to say it out loud because we're superstitious as actors, you know? Like, I really want this. I think this is the thing that I was waiting for to help kids. And the Fred Rogers documentary had just come out.
Oh, man, so you were all...
And I was, like, all emotional. I was like, okay. And then, you know, here I am.
It's incredible, man. Yeah. Did you have any sense, obviously it's taking a long time, you're going through all these callbacks, did any idea that 2,999 other people were vying for the gig, that it was like the scale of what was going on, or do you find all that out after the fact?
No, I didn't know until my first callback after the month of silence. And after I got back and I got that, they were like, hey, they wanted to see you on screen. Oh yeah, here's this video. They send me this video that Nickelodeon put out saying that the search for the next Blue's Clues host. We've looked over 3,000.
That's why I was watching this.
Oh my gosh. And I was like, oh, I'm freaking out.
Exactly. That's pretty amazing, man. I don't know how much truth is behind this. Maybe I missed it, but that John Cena was one of the guys at one point they were looking at.
Oh my
There were
gosh.
so many different people that they were looking at, but ultimately, you had the exact vibe and voice and everything that they were looking for, and you checked all the boxes. And yeah, I've seen the first episode, and as someone who watched it, like I said, when I was younger and stuff like that with my nieces and cousins and such, it feels just like it feels a part of the same world. It feels new, but it feels a part of the same universe, and it's really cool. And to that end, we see in that clip, you've got the ultimate blessing, man. Steve and Joe were right there in the first episode.
Yeah.
That must have been cool, kind of passing of the torch, as it were, and working with them. What was it like having them on set doing an actual episode with them?
You know, it's weird. I was talking with one of the creators, Angela Sandamero, yesterday, and she was like, "How is it having Donovan and Steve on set again?" I was like, "Oh, it's always so good. You know, we get along ridiculously well." Yeah. And what's crazy is that we've only really been together for 15 days, you know? But as soon as we were on set, it was like family coming together. They truly are like my cousins, like they're brothers for me, which is weird because I watch them on television and were such a huge part of my life. And getting to watch them on set, you know, Steve has to be on a blue screen since his shirt's green. Yeah. So I had to be on the sidelines and watch them work, and it was the coolest thing ever. They were so relaxed, and they were having so much fun. And, you know, in that first episode, I remember feeling like, oh yeah, Josh, play. Yeah. You know how to do this, and it's different than theater. In a way, the rules of the game are different, but you're still playing the same game, and you still have to play.
That's funny. As something when we briefly talked about this backstage, I had wondered about that because we hear so often when you go from theater to screen, you know, you've got to bring it down, you got to dial it back. My assumption was in this instance, maybe not as much because you're playing to kids, so you get to play it big. But you said there's still a balance you have to find, right?
Yeah. I mean, it depends because we break the fourth wall constantly, and we go right up to the lens, and we talk directly to the kid. And you know, depending on framing, if I'm way back, then I can be as big as I am on stage, and then I have to adjust the closer and closer I get. So yeah, it is different. And you know, I came from a show where there was everything was tangible, set, costumes, lights, everything, to nothing. So there was that, but you know, at the end of the day, you're just trying to communicate with somebody and keep it honest, because a kid will call BS so quickly. They'll give you that side eye, you know, it's like...
They know it right away.
Yeah.
And going in with that, and I think you kind of spoke to this a little bit, that having the two originals there and seeing them work reminded you to just kind of play with it. But before that moment, were you nervous at all? Yeah, the first day?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, because it's such an important show, like I was saying, like everybody's been saying. And there were a lot of people in the room, and there are a lot of eyes on you, and this is your first job. And granted, every single eye in that room was that of support. Mm-hmm. Which is so strange, you know. It's so strange that everybody truly just wants you to succeed and wants to nurture you and grow. So yeah, I was nervous, but Steve pulled me aside during a work session before we were ever on set filming, and he was like, "Hey man, I don't know if anybody told you, but I just want to let you know you're fantastic, and we cast you because we love you and we love what you're bringing to the table. Yeah. So don't ever feel like, you know, you have to do anything that I or that Dono did in the past. Like, just do you and be proud of that and celebrate that." And it was that thing that got me to go onto set and be able to be myself and to kind of let go of what they're doing and explore the role.
Yeah, don't be Steve, be Josh.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Yeah, super cool. One of the things that's also fantastic is that you're first Asian American in the role, and so not only inspiring just a new generation of kids, but also a new generation that gets to see themselves in this character and in this show. You know, do you feel, I don't know, an extra responsibility? Does that just feel great? What is that like to sort of be the first in something and to be that person for somebody?
Yeah, I mean, I think when I was growing up, I never really saw myself on screen in a way that connected with me, you know. It was either martial arts or a caricature of a stereotype. There were very few moments in my life where I was like, oh man, that person's really doing it. I connect with them, you know. Dante Basco as Rufio, heartbreaking. I watch it today, and I'm like, you have me in tears, man. I wish you were my dad. And I never really got to experience that. And my friends and the kids of friends, they shoot me texts, and they're like, hey, my kid just said, hey, he looks like me. And, you know, oh, man, that hits me with like a ton of bricks just because I never got to experience that. And I never thought that I would ever be in film and television. I got into acting kind of haphazardly along the way. And I got into theater. I thought that I could do theater because I knew of Lea Salonga, I knew of B.D. Wong, and David Henry Hwang, and then later Lou Diamond Phillips. I was like, oh, I could do that.
Yeah.
There's opportunity for me there. And I never thought about film and TV because I never saw it. And now looking back, you know, I hope that whoever you are, whether you're an Asian American, whatever you look like, identify with, just because you don't see yourself there, don't shut yourself off to the things that you love, because you never know. If you really love it, you're going to work hard. And if you work hard and you're kind to everyone, and you're prepared when that opportunity intersects with that moment in your life, then who's not to say that you couldn't be that person to open that door?
Yeah.
So I'm just so grateful that, you know, Nickelodeon has always been progressive. Like, look at Hey Arnold. Yeah. What a real depiction of New York City. In relation to the things that are being put out in, like, when we were growing up. Sure. So.
We're going to go over to the audience in a little bit. We got some questions from out there I want to get to, but we saw in the clip, I thought this was really exciting. Notebook got a little bit of an upgrade. Now it's a phone as well. What are some other things that have changed? What are some things that have stayed the same? You know, it was a different world when Blue first came on television. How'd you guys update it, and what are some things that were timeless?
So our characters are coming back. Blue and Magenta are back. The Notebook phone got a complete update, but while still maintaining the nostalgia and the functionality of a notebook. Yeah. But Blue used to be 2D, and now she's 3D, and so is Magenta. So she has fur, and I don't know if you noticed in the clip, like, the nuance in her face. Like, she did this, like, I don't know about this guy, Stephen Joe. I guess I got to play this game. Like, she's so sassy, she's so funny, she's so cute. And anything that I'm doing just is amplified by her. Yeah. And the rest of the world, I was talking to Tracy and the animators, and I'm like, it's like putting glasses on for the first time when you're looking at the show, because there's such a specific texture of things that you can find in a craft room, that when you look at our show, it's like you put on glasses. There's so much more texture, and there's so much more vibrance and colors and shades. Like, our animation team at 9 Story is crazy. So there is that, where now parents that watched it as kids or watched it with their siblings can watch it with their kids and share a piece of their childhood and have that bond, like, of sharing something that they love with their kid, something new, and while watching our show. I think that's so special. Yeah.
Is that, and would you say, is that kind of what you hope, you know, as someone that had such a connection to the show, is that what you're hoping kids take away from your version and from Josh's adventures with Blue?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. You know, our show is based on childhood development research. That's what Angela's background is. And so everything from the script, the animation, to the notes that I get when I'm on screen are based on research. So that has never changed about our show, and more research has been done, so our show is stronger and more current than ever. Yeah. But what's amazing is that families can watch the show together and share something and create a moment in time where, you know, that wouldn't exist with a new show that they don't know. Yeah. So that's really special, and which makes the lessons that they learn on screen that much more stronger.
Yeah. Well, congratulations again, man. I'm super excited. It's going to be November 11th at 1 p.m. It premieres, and everybody will get to see it. Last thing before we go to the audience, I was doing some research. Yeah. I could not believe, this is a real thing, a lot of shows, a ton of shows out there have vibrant fan communities that produce show-specific wikis, little websites devoted to information about the shows. You expect it with shows with deep lore like Gotham or something like that. I was shocked to find a very active community for the Blue's Clues universe. There is a Blue's Clues wiki, and it is filled with information about the show. Now, based on that, I found that. I thought this was great, and I thought we'd do real quick just a couple little trivia questions. I want to see how deep the knowledge goes. Don't worry.
I have this job already, right?
Well, yeah, you've already got the gig. But I want to see one of these. The first one I'm going to throw at you. Yeah. True or false? In the pilot, Blue was actually a boy cat and colored orange.
Oh. I know about the cat, so I'm going to say I feel like there's a multi-layer trickery thing here. I'm going to say false.
Well, hang on. You can verify there was a cat in the pilot. Okay, so this is true according to the internet.
Yes, yes.
So there was a cat in the pilot.
So Blue was originally a cat, and
Okay.
then they changed it to a dog.
Yeah, so according to the internet, again, this is only as true as we allow it to be, that the original show, that the
Don't
pilot,
quote me.
Exactly. Well, the pilot had a boy cat colored orange, and it says at the time Nickelodeon already greenlit a show with a cat, so they changed it to a dog.
That's what it was.
And then they were like, well, all right, and the name is Blue, so why is it orange? So I guess we'll make it Blue.
Yeah.
So it just seems crazy to me that Blue's Clues had the exact opposite leading character when the idea was pitched.
Absolutely.
It's wild to me. Okay, fair enough. There we go. Second one. This should be easy. Finish the family, okay? Mr. Salt, Mrs. Pepper, Cinnamon, Ginger, and... Can you give me one more? Mr. Salt, Mrs. Pepper, Cinnamon, Ginger, and...
Paprika.
Paprika is correct. We also... Can you give me one more? Yeah, you know what? Hang on.
Thank you.
Hold for
Thank you.
applause. The man got
Yeah.
paprika. Can you give me one more?
Okay. Sage.
Correct. Applause again. Yes.
My bosses are watching.
There's one more, but it's a tough one.
Okay.
Can you do it?
Oh.
Dig deep. I'll give you a hint. She's elderly. Perhaps maybe even the oldest character on the show, according to the wiki.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Salt, pepper, Mr. Salt, Mrs. Pepper,
Cinnamon, ginger, sage.
paprika.
Matriarch of the Shaker family.
Matriarch of. I want to say oregano, but that's such a
No,
lie.
it's Grandma Cayenne. We were looking for Grandma Cayenne.
That's why they're all so spicy.
That's got to be it.
That's why they're all so spicy.
All right, last one. This is fun. In the 90s, early 2000s, Blue appeared in many Nick Jr. bumpers alongside this character, the then Nick Jr. host from 94 to 2004.
Oh gosh, this looks real bad.
No, it's all right if you don't know. These are intentionally deep and obscure.
Who is it?
It was Face. Do you remember Face? Not a lot of people remember Face.
No.
Face was this character that would pop up in between the shows. It was a bumper, and I just heard somebody go, "Oh yes." See, it's deep. Nobody talks about Face, but we all remember it. So Face was just two eyes, a nose, and a mouth, and in between shows, Face would pop and be like, "Blue's Clues is coming up next."
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and Blue would pop out once in a while, hang out with Face, which I didn't realize. I just remember.
I did not realize.
Yeah, I know. Like I said, I watched it a lot with my cousin. Yeah, obviously, it's a cover. I just watched a lot of Nick Jr. when I was 11.
Yeah,
That's
I
what
watched it with my sister. That's why I watched.
what we
Blue's
all did.
Clues.
We all knew younger people. We totally didn't watch it when we were 10 and 11 years old. But okay, thank you for indulging me and answering those
Thank you for
questions.
being so kind.
Oh, of course. No, you got 99% of it, I think. I'm terrible at math. I went to art school, but you did very well.
Thank you.
So let's take some questions. The first one's from Twitter. This is from @EdwardIsTheMan. Still my favorite name. What is your favorite Nickelodeon show? There you go. You can't get that wrong.
Favorite Nickelodeon show is Hey Arnold.
Well done. Can I ask why?
I don't know. For a cartoon, it spoke a lot of truth, you know. And like I said, it was one of the most diverse shows on television, and it was a cartoon on Nick Jr. So the possibilities were endless. Like it used to be that we'd have to look to shows like Rocko's Modern Life, where it was up for interpretation about like you were represented or not. But like we were represented on Hey Arnold, and he talked about like. Missing his parents who he never met, it got so real. And Lockjaw, his grandma, helping him save the turtle, Mr. Win and his country career. I think that was an important moment where it was a Vietnamese man singing country music, and when he opened his mouth, he had the country twang on, and it was kind of like, oh, and he succeeded, and you could be anything. Yeah. You know, and it was so important for me to be like, oh, you didn't see him as a Vietnamese immigrant anymore. You saw him as an American, and that was huge for me growing up in suburbia where there were only a handful of Filipino families.
Where'd you grow up, man?
I grew up in New Milford, New Jersey.
Oh, no way. All right.
Yeah.
Nearby, not too far.
Yeah, not too far.
Awesome. Thank you for that question. Kate, I got a couple in the room. Let's do that. We got some microphones out there. First question, let's go to it right here.
Hi.
Hi.
So I actually grew up in Peru. So I used to watch Las Pistas de Blue, which is the name in Spanish. What was the biggest challenge that you have to face by feeling now, to continue this legacy?
Oh gosh. I guess to remain honest on set, because there's so much going on, and you're only talking to pieces of tape that it's easy to kind of get like really hokey and silly and take the kids for granted. But at the end of the day, it's just like any other scene. Your scene partner is behind the glass who you don't see, and your scene partner are pieces of tape that you actually have to personalize and form a relationship with. So a lot of the time, you know, when there are a lot of things going on, like make sure you get this eye line right, make sure you get this eye line right, oh, and make sure after 3 seconds you go back to this character, you get a little overwhelmed, and so you just spit lines out, right? And luckily, we have the benefit of doing takes. But to remain honest is always such a great reminder that, like, ask the question. When you're Steve told me the piece of advice he gave me was, when you're asking the kid a question, you're actually waiting for their answer. They are the leading expert in whatever it is you're doing. You're not just waiting for your next line to pop up. And I was like, oh, that's so helpful. And so it makes my life so much easier.
That's a great question. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Let's do one more. We got one more question.
Hi.
Hi.
This is a question from our site. And which non-Nickelodeon show was your favorite to watch growing up?
Oh, there.
Bosses, turn the channel, right?
Yeah,
Don't
yeah,
watch
yeah,
this,
yeah,
boss.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, turn your TVs off now. There are two. They were on the same network. They were produced by Steven Spielberg, and we got Animaniacs and Freakazoid.
Freakazoid.
Yo,
Good
Freakazoid,
pull.
though.
I got the DVD of Freakazoid. Not enough love for Freakazoid.
It's
Noel.
Amazing.
Incredible show.
It's amazing.
Way
Like,
ahead of its
They
time.
had a Woody Allen rant, and it was like, I didn't even know who Woody Allen was.
No.
But I was like, that's hilarious.
Those Spielberg shows, that was, I mean, we talk about now about how like great cartoons like have something for the adults and the kids.
Yeah.
But they blend it together and make it work. Those Spielberg shows would have stuff that the adults would get and that would fly over the children's heads.
It's hilarious.
And you
now.
go back and watch it now, and
Yeah.
it's unbelievable the amount of references they would pack into all those different
Yeah,
episodes, man.
It's brilliant, man.
Freakazoid. I didn't see that coming. You said I thought you were going to go Tiny Toons and Animaniacs.
Oh, no. Tiny Toons
It's all right.
But Freakazoid, like, you had Ed Asner.
Yeah, Ed Asner
as
the cop.
the cop.
What was his name? I don't know.
Oh, I don't know, but he was like, poo gas. I hate poo gas.
Exactly.
Like,
It's
what?
What is Ed Asner doing in
Yeah.
here, man? Oh, wow. All right, well, if I had another 20 minutes, we would talk about the greatness of Freakazoid, but I don't.
Great.
So instead, what I'm going to do is thank you profusely for being here,
you.
man.
Thanks for having me.
It's been so awesome chatting with you. I really enjoyed it. Thank you. And congratulations.
Thank
You're made for this, man. You're right. This is the thing.
appreciate it.
I'm so glad you're in the role, man. It's so good. I want to remind those out there right now that it is November 11th at 1 p.m. Blue's Clues and You. It's back, and you got to tune in and check out Josh and Blue. They know exactly what they're doing. It's a ton of fun. Thank you guys for being a great audience, asking wonderful
Thank you so
questions,
much.
and hanging out as always. Yes, that is the right move. Keep it going, ladies and gentlemen. Make some noise for Josh Dela Cruz right here.
Thank you.